Fishing trips anywhere, anytime. FishingBooker.com. Want to plan your next fishing trip without the hassle? FishingBooker.com is the best way to find and book a fishing charter anywhere in the world. Whether you're chasing trophy fish or just looking for a family day on the water, Fishing Booker makes it simple, fast, and secure. With thousands of experienced guides, verified reviews, and 24/7 customer support, Fishing Booker takes the guesswork out of planning. Visit FishingBooker.com and book your trip today. Fishing Booker. Fishing trips made easy.
Explore historic waterways in 2025 with Scenic on the most inclusive cruise on Europe's rivers. Enjoy up to 5 dining experiences, spacious suites, and butler service. Be immersed in the culture with enriching free choice excursions and exclusive events. Scenic, in a class of its own. Book now and save.
Years ago, I found myself outside a dusty little bar on the outskirts of a fishing village in Mexico. It was late, the kind of late where the air smells like wood smoke and tequila. A guy was cooking tacos over a fire in an old tire rim, just a piece of metal in flame. No menu, no questions. I handed him a few pesos and got a taco piled high with meat I couldn't quite identify. Maybe a goat, maybe something wilder. It didn't matter. I took a bite. It was smoky, rich, spicy, and unforgettable. That taco, cooked on a tire rim under the stars, reminded me that the best tacos aren't always made in a kitchen. They're made from whatever the land gives you, however you can cook it. Today we're diving into the world of wild tacos. From nixtamalized corn tortillas to slow-cooked squirrel barbacoa, trout picked off the bone, and maybe even a cricket or two. Grab a drink, grab a seat, and tune in.
Join Justin Townsend and the Harvesting Nature crew as they explore the world of cooking wild fish and game while sharing recipes, tips, tricks, and lessons learned from their pursuit of wild food. We sure hope you ate before the show, 'cause you're gonna leave hungry. This is the Wild Fish and Game Podcast.
When most people think of tacos, they're probably picturing ground beef, shredded lettuce, maybe a handful of cheddar from the bag. But for those of us who hunt, fish, forage, tacos are so much more. They're a vehicle for wild food, one of the most versatile and approachable ways to celebrate the harvest. Wild tacos can start with just about any protein. Think about venison barbacoa, or even shredded bear shoulder, smoked duck, squirrel confit. If it walks or runs through the woods, chances are we've wrapped it in a tortilla. Fish tacos, forget fried tilapia. I'm not a fan of tilapia at all. I mean, I've had it. I caught it out of Adam Steele's pond once, and I think that's about the only time I was like, oh yeah, this seems legit. But I think fried tilapia is for the birds. I won't buy it in the store.
No. Yeah, it's not great. Yeah.
I'll
eat it if it's in front of me, but I don't buy it myself ever.
Yeah, no. Instead, I want to you could do trout, you could do blackened gar, halibut, walleye. There's so much stuff you can do. So many different fish, I think, out there, which is crazy. To settle on that would be just a little sad. But I think tacos are probably the best place to showcase seasonal forage ingredients too. So we've talked about pickled ramps, morels, sorrel, and even nopales. So like cactus pads that are sauteed, dandelion greens with whitetail heart, so delicious. And even as we've learned more recently, insects have a place at the table. So toasted crickets with lime and chili, grasshopper salsa, and ant eggs scrambled with garlic, and wild pack protein that are sustainable and surprisingly good in a warm tortilla. A lot of the cultures around the world are throwing bugs in tortillas, which is phenomenal. Chapulines is a great example. Wild tacos are about creativity. They let you experiment, eat with your hands, and bring wild food to the table in a fun, approachable, and seriously delicious way. We're going to talk a lot about tacos today, so if you're a taco fan as much as I am, you're really going to enjoy this episode. And I think the only appropriate place to kick this off is with a history lesson from Adam.
Yeah, like we always do. Talking about the history of tacos, you can't talk about tacos without first talking about corn. And you can't talk about corn without honoring its place as one of the human's most important agricultural innovations in history. Corn was first domesticated about 9,000 years ago in what's now southern Mexico. It was a grain called teosinte, which I was in Oaxaca on a trip a few years ago, and we went through like a botanical garden tour behind a church in the downtown area, and there was teosinte growing there. I actually got to hold some of the grains in my hand to see what corn originally looked like. It was pretty cool.
That's cool.
Very different, very dark and small and different. It was neat. But it was more than a staple crop for those early Aboriginal people. It was actually sacred. For many indigenous Mesoamerican cultures, including the Maya, Aztec, Zapotec, etc., corn was life itself. It was woven into mythology, into medicine, into the whole identity of the people. And even the Popol Vuh, which is the Mayan creation story, the gods created humans from masa, which is corn dough. And that's not just symbolism, it's reverence for this ingredient. So I think this whole entire people thought that they actually stemmed from corn itself, which I find super interesting. Around this time, we hit the first significant taco milestone in history, which is nixtamalization. This is a traditional process where dried corn is soaked and cooked in an alkaline solution, which is usually water with calcium hydroxide, aka lime. And we're not talking about the lime like the citrus fruit, but lime like the mineral.
Most common would be found in like ash.
Yes, exactly. Find it ash. You can find it, and there's lime deposits elsewhere. I live pretty close to Lake Ontario, and this whole section where the city of Kingston lies in Ontario is all on a limestone bedrock because it used to be part of like an inland sea. So there's like lime deposits everywhere. So there's certain places that would have that. You can get it from ash. You can get it from a lot of different places. So they would mix the lime with water and the corn, creating this nixtamalization process, which breaks down the tough outer hull of the corn kernel. So when we're talking corn, don't picture sweet corn, like those nice plush yellow kind of kernels. We're talking about like kind of larger, rough, dried, big pieces of corn. By going through the nixtamalization process, the outer shell gets kind of broken down so it's easier to chew and digest. That in turn boosts the nutrition by making niacin, also known as vitamin B3, bioavailable for your body to absorb. And it gives the masa, which is the corn dough, its signature earthy, slightly sweet flavor. Without nixtamalization, no tortillas, no tacos, no tamales, and a lot of malnourished people. This happened to a lot of the settlers who came and saw, the indigenous people are growing corn, we'll grow corn and eat it too. And then they all started suffering from nutritional deficiencies because they weren't using the nixtamalization process. So it's important to follow the full food way. Ancient people knew what they were doing when they were connecting things and cooking things together. It's best if we follow those historical things. Once corn is nixtamalized and ground, it becomes masa, which is the base for corn tortillas. These were edible plates of the ancient world, used to scoop, wrap, carry all sorts of ingredients around. So they would just use those as utensils rather than utensils and plates rather than having cutlery. Archaeological evidence shows indigenous people were using tortilla-like flatbreads with fillings as far back as the pre-Columbian period, long before taco was actually even a term. This is pretty old food. Now, early tacos weren't filled with cheese and the cheese you get from the bag, the pre-shredded stuff, and some questionable ground beef from the grocery store. They were actually filled or stuffed with think small game, fish, roasted insects like chapulines or grasshoppers, crickets, wild greens, squash, beans, chilies, anything that was available basically. It was all deeply regional, highly seasonal, and tied to traditional ecological knowledge. The OG tacos were foraged and hunted, and you'd probably find a rabbit and purslane taco long before a carne asada one. So that's interesting to think about. We're going to fast forward to the 1500s when the Spanish show up, and with them come, pigs, cattle, chicken, goats, sheep. They start growing wheat, garlic, onions, bring in dairy. None of these things really existed. There was some wild garlic and onion and kind of stuff happening. Maybe some wild goats and sheep in some areas, but probably not in the same areas we're talking about. Suddenly, indigenous foodways collided with European methods and ingredients. So we're getting like lard, we're getting cheese, and we're kind of seeing the beginning of a slow transformation of tacos from a wild indigenous staple to something more complex and colonized. Tacos, though, were resilient, as they always have been. They evolved regionally across Mexico, each place putting its own spin on the formula. In central Mexico, tacos de carnitas, which had slow-cooked pork, became a staple. In the Yucatan, the Mayan traditions lived on with cochinita pibil. That's pork marinated in sour orange and coyote paste, then roasted, buried in a pit, which is a method not too different from indigenous earth oven cooking. So each kind of region was developing its own type of taco. One of my favorite kind of historical twists in the story is tacos al pastor, which are hugely popular across a lot of the world. I've seen them in Germany. I've seen them in Turkey. They've made their way around the world. It traces its roots back to Lebanese immigrants in the early 20th century who brought the vertical spit with them. That's used for shawarma generally. So think like gyros or shawarma, just something kind of rotating on a vertical spit. Locals adapted using eventually pork instead of lamb. These were Christian Lebanese. Added pineapple, and tacos al pastor were born. Actually, I have a whole Antler and Fin podcast on just tacos to al pastor if anyone wants to check it out and learn more about that, because it's a pretty cool story. In the 20th century, tacos began to migrate. Mexican laborers in the American Southwest brought tacos across the border with them. But as with many immigration foods, they were mutated to fit American tastes. So, the people move, they find that the locals don't, particularly like certain tastes or flavors or ingredients, and they find that many of the ingredients that they would use back home aren't available, and so they start making do with what they have, which creates new foods, and that's been happening all over the world all the time. That's when like hard shells came in, ground beef, yellow cheese, iceberg lettuce, all this stuff that you normally wouldn't see on tacos south of the border. It's what most Americans and Canadians grew up with, thanks in large part to Glenn Bell, who founded Taco Bell in the 1960s after watching Mexican Vaqueros. And he really shaped what people think of as tacos. It wasn't until I, was a late teenager, that I even realized tacos had more, there was more to tacos than just the old El Paso kit, which was a weekly staple in our household. The roots of tacos, though, never disappeared, even as a fast food taco took over strip malls and, everywhere else. In the past few decades, we've actually seen a taco renaissance, a resurgence of traditional Mexican taco culture, from street tacos to regional specialties, and a movement alongside from wild food lovers, foragers, hunters, and anglers, reclaiming the taco as a platform for the foods that they harvest, bringing it back full circle to where it started. An example of this is the tacos de birria, which you just see everywhere now. Every single blogger, every single influencer, every single cool hip bar has tacos or birria tacos now. They're everywhere, and they're becoming less and less and less like the ones that I had from where they kind of originated in Guadalajara, or maybe not in Guadalajara. I can't fact check that, but the ones I've had in Mexico are it's kind of losing its resemblance to that as it carries on using different ingredients and everything. But in terms of using tacos as a platform for wild food, this is where it gets really fun for folks like us. The taco is infinitely adaptable. You can go super traditional with nixtamalized blue corn tortillas, fire roasted wild rabbit, smoked chili salsa. Or you can get creative like venison chorizo, sauteed mushrooms, carp tacos with pickled purslane, crickets with lime cream, and you can just kind of do anything. Talking about insect tacos, in Oaxaca, you can find entire markets that specialize in insect tacos. And I enjoyed them there in Oaxaca, and they're actually really incredible. First, I just kind of ate them out of a bag, the chapalinas, and then I was trying them on tacos and tortas, and they're a really cool, crunchy ingredient. In Sonora, which I haven't been to yet, and I'd love to visit, the flour tortilla became popular because of wheat cultivation under Spanish rule. So wheat was grown instead of corn, and the flour taco kind of came to be. So there's a whole branch of taco culture that's traditional, but with wheat instead of corn, or semi-traditional, I guess you could say. As we see, tacos are a reflection of place, of season, of heritage, of adaptation. They're as indigenous as the Milpas where corn still grows, and as modern as the guy in the corner selling tacos de birria with consomme, or the stay-at-home mom food blogger doing the same thing. They're just, it's kind of gone everywhere. So when we're talking about wild tacos, we're not inventing something new. We're returning to something ancient. We're putting deer and trout and chanterelles back into the tortilla where they've always belonged.
Well, folks, it's time to spice it up, literally. You've heard of Taco Tuesday, but Today, we're going to take it to the next level with a little game we call Taco, Truth, or Dare, the Wild Edition. Here's how the game works. We're going to take turns choosing either truth or dare, but this isn't your middle school sleepover version. We're keeping it wild, weird, and taco focused. The truths will reveal our deepest, darkest taco confessions, like when someone ruined a trout taco with mayo. And the dares, well, those might get a little spicy. We're talking squirrel poems, imaginary taco trucks, and maybe carp-flavored teg talks. No skipping, no playing it safe, and if you refuse to answer or complete the dare, the other person assigns you a cursed taco combo on the spot. Think armadillo tartare with cool ranch Dorito dust. So grab your tortillas, hold on to your livers, and let's play Taco, Truth, or Dare. So I'll give you first swing if you want, Adam.
Okay, so truth or dare?
Oh, let's see. Dare.
Name 3 wild game meats that sound like they shouldn't be in tacos, but sell us on them anyway.
3 wild game meats that should sound like they shouldn't be in tacos,
but sell us on them anyways.
Okay, so Coyote.
Yep.
I think it naturally fits. I would go with the loin, like grilled. Probably with some sort of like spicy sauce. It's a very bold flavor because, as remember, Coyote had a really bold, irony kind of flavor. So I'd go with that. So something bold and spicy on a taco with Coyote meat. Pigeon. Let's do pigeon tacos. Like shredded. So like cooked whole and then shredded as much as you can. You'd have to pick through a lot of the bones, but I think pigeons are everywhere, and I think it's a great company. I would go with like a chili verde sauce. It would be really good. And then something that iguana tacos. I love iguana tacos, so I'll say that. You wouldn't typically think of that going on a taco, but they're really good. I think we have a really good mango coconut one on the Harvest Nature website that Dustin wrote. That's a good one. So those are my 3.
Okay, hit me up.
Truth or dare?
I'll try truth first.
Okay. If you had to serve tacos to a skeptical Michelin star chef, what wild ingredients would be your ace?
I think I would do venison neck.
Okay.
Slowly, braised and shredded. So I'm getting distracted by a cool bird outside. Slowly shredded, or slowly braised and shredded, and mixed with lots of cool roasted chili flavors and everything. That venison neck is an underutilized piece of the deer that people either just discard or grind a lot of the times, but it has so much connective tissue and everything, and it just braises like a dream. And I think people would be totally into them, just judging by the birria craze. Just that like beautiful, super rich taco, just full of flavors. I think it'd be awesome. And that neck has a lot more flavor than a lot of other venison parts, and it will like stand up to those chilies really nice. So people are often using like loin or something dumb to braise down in some of these recipes. Like the chilies kind of just take over that flavor, but not for neck. It'd be great, I think.
Ooh, all right.
That's my
I like it. All right, hit me.
Hey, truth or dare?
Let's go truth.
Truth. What's your wildest wild food taco memory? Good or horrifying?
Wildest wild food taco memory. Probably one of my favorites is going back to pig camp. How we always on like the Wednesday when we arrive, we generally shoot a pig and then are like making some sort of pig tacos that evening, and then it's like the first time we all get together after our first few months and get to hang out and just eat tacos. And then I would say Hank Shaw's Discada was pretty cool too.
Yeah,
I would add that really to a pig camp experience as well, because that was a neat way that I've never had tacos, and I've eaten tacos all over the country. So those two, I guess, surrounding around pig camp and pork tacos are probably my 2 favorite.
It's funny. I'd probably answer the same. That one we did with the little pig, like we did kind of a show that we butterflied and then rubbed down in like a kimchi paste that Justin made and grilled it right over the fire. That was pretty incredible. Pretty cool.
Good. All right, truth or dare?
I'll do a dare.
Dare. All right. You know which one you're getting. Create a poem about a squirrel taco. No context allowed.
I don't know. What rhymes with taco? Not much. There once was a squirrel from Morocco who leapt from a tree into a taco. When he got there, his tail added some flair, and nothing else rhymes with taco. He turned into a squirrely taco.
Oh my gosh, that's great. Oh, that's awesome. All right, I'll go dare.
Okay. Invent a fake but plausible taco shop name and its wild signature taco.
A fake but plausible taco shop name. We'll call it the Taco Alley. Mm-hmm. And its signature wild taco is raccoon, because it's an alley and it has braised raccoon, signifying its signature, our favorite dumpster panda.
with some poached pigeon eggs on top.
Yeah. We're going full inner urban city taco shop. And it's a trendy one too, with like a neon sign and like nice cocktails inside, but they just serve like near roadkill related animals. Yeah, that's it.
I like it.
The Taco Alley. Okay, we'll do one more. All right, you're up.
How about truth?
Okay, what's your personal taco shame?
Like, what have I done?
Yep.
I guess I do have a bit of a, for how much I kind of disregard the old El Paso kits, I do have a bit of a, like nostalgic feeling for them, because I grew up with them. It's every once in a while, like a basic bitch hard shell taco with cheddar cheese and, and whatever, and just iceberg lettuce and tomatoes. Like, it just kind of hits a spot. I have also come home and, late at night after potentially imbibing a few beverages, and have made some like wacky tacos with like craft singles and like leftovers or whatever else I've had in the fridge, like just something that was awesome when I ate them, but in the morning I'm like, what was I thinking? Just like lots of hot sauce, gross cheese, and like whatever is kicking around the fridge. Definitely have stuffed a few of those in my face too.
Yep. I think I've sometimes just eaten just tortillas, just
straight.
Yeah, I'll just have a tortilla and a slice of cheese, but not even together as like a quesadilla, just like separate, deconstructed taco, we'll call it. All right, no, that was fun. Thanks for playing.
If anyone wants to write in on Instagram and tell us some of their weirdest, wackiest, shameful tacos or things we went through there, let us know. That'd be fun.
Yeah, write in, drop a comment. We'll get you some stickers. It'll be fun.
Want to plan your next fishing trip without the hassle? FishingBooker.com is the best way to find and book a fishing charter anywhere in the world. Whether you're chasing trophy fish or just looking for a family day on the water, Fishing Booker makes it simple, fast, and secure. With thousands of experienced guides, verified reviews, and 24/7 customer support, Fishing Booker takes the guesswork out of planning. Visit FishingBooker.com and book your trip today. Fishing Booker. Fishing trips made easy. Want to plan your next fishing trip without the hassle? FishingBooker.com is the best way to find and book a fishing charter anywhere in the world. Whether you're chasing trophy fish or just looking for a family day on the water, Fishing Booker makes it simple, fast, and secure. With thousands of experienced guides, verified reviews, and 24/7 customer support, Fishing Booker takes the guesswork out of planning. Visit FishingBooker.com and book your trip today. Fishing Booker. Fishing trips made easy.
All right, so we're going to shift gears here a little bit, and I'm going to talk about how to make corn tortillas, because I think a lot of people will buy them, but I've recently started making more myself, and the process itself is not difficult, and it's pretty straightforward, and the elevated flavor that you get from it is pretty phenomenal. We've talked about history, so let's talk about the foundation. So the tortilla. It doesn't matter how perfectly you've cooked a piece of meat if you're tossing it in a sad store-bought tortilla that cracks in half the second you fold it, you're doing it dirty, and I totally get that. Also understand too, if you don't want to venture into this realm and you just want to try it out, but I recommend buy a tortilla press. It's super simple. So let's start with corn tortillas. The original, they're made from masa harina, which is flour, corn flour made from the nixtamalized corn. That nixtamalization that we talked about earlier, that's what gives masa its rich flavor and makes corn tortillas taste like something ancient and awesome, not just a corn pancake. So you want to start with about 1.5 cups of masa harina. Get the good stuff, preferably the non-GMO and organic. There's lots of cool brands out there. You can get white, you can get yellow, you can get blue, you can get all the different types. You'll add about 1 cup of warm water and a good pinch of salt. Mix it until it comes together in a dough that's soft but not sticky. You want it to feel like Play-Doh, so it'll be pliable and smooth. Let it rest for 10 to 15 minutes. It likes its chill time. And then divide it into balls about the size of a golf ball. Use a tortilla press lined with parchment or cut up plastic bag. I think the cut up plastic bag, like your average grocery store bag, is the way to go. I store my tortilla press like with the 2 sheets of plastic inside of it so that I don't lose them. Once you have those set up, put one on the bottom, put your dough in, put the other one on top, and then press it flat. Toss them into a hot, dry skillet, no oil, for about 30 seconds each side, maybe a little longer. You'll see them puff if you've nailed the moisture level. That puff, that's the magic you want. They're earthy, slightly sweet, and they'll change the way you think about tacos forever. And yeah, you can totally make your own masa from scratch. If you're feeling extra, soak and cook dried field corn in lime water. Grind it in a wet hand mill, and you're in business. Old school but rewarding. Now on to flour tortillas. So they have their own deep history, as we mentioned. This was when wheat was more readily available. They're soft, they're pliable, and better suited for heartier fillings like grilled meat, carnitas, or fried fish. And I am I would say, for breakfast tacos and fried fish tacos, I love flour tortillas. So here's a basic from scratch like flour tortilla recipe. Take 2 cups of all-purpose flour, 1/2 teaspoon of salt, 1/2 teaspoon of baking powder, 3 tablespoons of fat. Bonus points if you're using something like bear fat or wild pork fat, and you would traditionally use lard anyway, so this is going to make them really incredible. But if you need to, you can use butter or oil, but you're going to get a better outcome with lard. Mix it until it's crumbly, and then add about 3/4 cup of warm water a little at a time, and knead it until it's smooth. It's going to be about 5 minutes. Let the dough rest. Cover it for 30 minutes. This helps the gluten relax so the tortillas are easier to roll out. You'll then divide them into balls. Roll them with a rolling pin. Don't use the press here, and cook on a hot, dry skillet until bubbles form and they get golden brown spots, which is about a minute each side. The result? Chewy, tender, and slightly rich from the fat. Perfect for anything juicy that needs some structural support, like shredded wild boar or a saucy fish dish. Now, pro tip. If you're doing a wild taco spread at home, make both types of tortillas and let the filling guide your pairing. Corn for earthy stuff like mushrooms, game meats, grilled fish. Flour for the bolder, heavier, juicier options. And whatever you do, make them fresh if you can. Once you've had a warm homemade tortilla, you'll never look at the plastic-wrapped grocery store stack the same way again.
So what's your corn versus flour? You kind of mentioned you like fish tacos and breakfast tacos better than flour.
Yeah, I would say corn is going to generally be the go-to in my house. We try to stay away from a lot of flour stuff, but corn will be for anything like grilled steak, grilled meat, even like chopped stuff. We'll do corn, and I go pretty minimal on my tacos. A lot of times, like I'll have some sort of sauce, and then I'll have onions and cilantro. And then that's kind of it. I generally don't dress it up like crazy, but we'll do a full like condiment spread. And then the flour tortillas, I like for like quesadillas, obviously burritos. I'm a huge burrito fan, but since we're talking about tacos, I won't go down to that level. But breakfast tacos are always to me on flour tortillas. And I think that's like that Oklahoma, Texas upbringing. Also, big, huge fan of Tex-Mex fajitas with flour tortillas as well. So I could go like seared meats that are really juicy. And I think that's kind of a good defining point of like, I just find like the flour tortillas hold so much more juiciness, so much better. But I'm like all over the place. I think the homemade version of each is so much different than what you just find in the store. And I think it just lends to kind of its own flavor source, but its own functionality as well. I think it makes that taco more functional. And holy shit, are people impressed when you say like, yeah, I made these tortillas. They're like, oh, really? Like definitely. My kids are like, oh my God, Dad, these are so good. And so that makes me really happy. How about you? What's your balance of flour to corn?
I'm kind of sitting right in the middle in terms of just what I prefer, without any, getting into it. But my wife, Kathy, she doesn't love corn tortillas, or she gets easily overwhelmed by them. So after a few of them, it gets to be too much. Or if we're in Mexico for a week, like she's kind of done with it by the end of the week. So I end up using flour a little more often, just taking her into account. And I'm okay with that because I love flour tortillas as well. I kind of love both of them. But yeah, I agree with you. Definitely a breakfast taco is better on a flour tortilla. Juicy things. I find corn tortillas, I tend to go lighter with my accoutrements, like same as you, just some like white onion, cilantro, a little bit of salsa, and whatever meat I'm using. Maybe radish. Where on the wheat tortillas, especially if they're a little larger, I tend to go a little crazier with toppings and stuff. So, and when I'm making the wheat tortillas, you talked about adding lard to it. I've just been kind of slowly experimenting with different types of lard and doing different things to the lard, like cooking the lard with spices for a while to get a spice lard, smoking it, cutting the fat out of grilled meats, and then rendering that, and then putting tortillas. So there's a lot of cool flavors you can add into your tortilla with that lard. And then you can make a YouTube video and you can scrunch it all in your hands and let it go and it doesn't break, because that's what like millions of people are doing on every single reel and video I see now, which I'm very sensitive to. I quickly come to hate something that I see every single day flicking through Instagram, like an onion being chopped on the cutting board loudly and forcefully, or these tortilla scrunchers.
What about? I've got one. You're gonna love this one. Something that you fried crispy and raking your knife across it.
Oh yeah, raking it. Ugh.
Yeah.
It just gives me shivers now thinking about it. I don't know. So yeah, enough with that, everyone. Like, give it a break, give it a rest. Let's enjoy getting back to the food itself rather than these gimmicks. Anyways, enough of my rant. Let's talk about filling tacos, filling tortillas. There's a lot of common fillings from the domestic side that can be easily translated into wild ingredients, which makes the taco so versatile for hunters, fishers, anglers, and foragers. So I'm going to go through a few kind of common taco fillings and kind of show you how you can apply to wild ingredients. First, we'll start with meat-based. One of the most popular is carne asada, which is grilled marinated beef, which is usually skirt or flank. That can obviously be exchanged with any big game animal, from moose or mule deer or wild pig or anything. They all have skirts and flanks. The larger ones, especially like elk and moose, have really substantial ones. Yeah, and it's going to be incredible from any of those animals. Another one is also al pastor, which we mentioned earlier, which is like the pork marinated in Coyote paste and pineapple, cooked on a vertical spit. There's lots of ways you can make al pastor at home without that vertical spit. It's all over the internet. Wild pig obviously works great with it, although you could kind of make it with anything else. You can make... I've been hearing about al pastor with octopus, and I want to try that desperately. I think that'd be really, really good. So yeah, you can kind of get crazy with it. Carnitas. Yeah, does that sound good?
Yeah, I had octopus this weekend. We bought some pre-cooked, like pre-poached, and then cooked it. Broiled it in the oven. Oh my god, it's so good. Sorry.
Yeah, it's so good. I love it. Yeah, I did it 2 weekends ago, I think, and I poached it, then just like crisped it up in a pan with some flavored oil. Ugh. that had like smoked paprika in the oil.
Yeah.
Stupid good. So carnitas, a lot of people know that too. It's pretty common on Pinterest and everything now. Usually deals with slow cooked pork, often crisped up after on the edges. Once again, you can make carnitas out of any big game animal or small game animal. You can make raccoon or muskrat carnitas just as well. You just got to slow cook everything with all the common spices and chilies, and then shred it and crisp it up. Turns out awesome. Barbacoa, which is traditionally pit roasted lamb or beef, tender and shredded, kind of similar to carnitas. You can do something, even if you don't want to dig a pit in the backyard, you can often, wrap it in something else or do it in a Dutch oven and come up with something pretty similar. Chorizo is one of my favorite tacos. I have a lot of favorite tacos, but just the chorizo and potato taco, there's something so simple and delicious about that. And I remember Casey brought in some venison chorizo to the pig camp once, and I made some potato and chorizo breakfast sausages, and
we've got a good chorizo recipe in the venison sausage, the art of venison sausage making. It's that one, actually. I think it's that one or one close to it.
Okay, yeah,
it's really good.
So good. And talk about chorizo or sausage, like the majority of the sausages found in our book can be used in tacos. From chorizo to blood sausage to all sorts of stuff. It's worth checking out. Or breakfast sausage for breakfast tacos. We can get into tinga, hugely popular in the UK, a little popular here. Usually consists of shredded chicken or pork in a smoky tomato and chipotle sauce. I'd say the best thing to make it with would be wild turkey. You can make it with any kind of shredded poultry. Same with pollo asado, which is grilled marinated chicken. You can do that with turkey. You can do that with grouse, pheasant. You got the famous birria, which is braised beef or goat in a chili-based broth, often served with consomme. Once again, any big animal, these things you want to be using: necks, shoulders, shanks, all those like pieces with a lot of connective tissue to make the birria extra rich and delicious. Tripas, which is fried beef intestines. Another one of my favorite things. Love intestines. But the problem with wild game intestines, I haven't played around with them too much, but after I talked to Hank Shaw about them one time, and he said because they're so fatty, you're going to deal with the same kind of problems you deal with any deer fat, in that it's going to stick to the inside of your mouth when you're making the intestines. So maybe stick to more of like a pig, the wild pig intestines, but you're going to have to go through a lot of cleaning to get to that point. So that one's for the advanced cooks, I think. Lengua, that is my very favorite taco, I would say.
It's your favorite out of the 5 favorites I've talked about in the last 10 minutes. This was the favorite.
Usually made with beef tongue. It's just like, I don't know, dreamy. It's incredible. You just slow cook the tongue, sear the chopped pieces of it after and put them on a taco. There's nothing better than that. You use deer tongue, moose tongue, pig tongue. You're going to have to collect quite a few deer tongues to do it. But if you're hunting in a group and you get a few deer, no one's going to want their tongues, probably, so you can go home with them all. Just bug your buddies for them. Cabeza, which is steamed or roasted head. That's like the cheeks and all that kind of stuff, the jowls. Great for pigs. You can do it with deer. You get less meat. Something like a moose, they got a nice big head. You could do like a big party with that. Suadero, which is beef from the belly and leg, tender, fatty, and griddled. Same thing, any big game animal. We can get into seafood taco fillings. So like that kind of classic Baja style fish, beer battered, fried whitefish, cabbage, and crema. Any whitefish will do for that. You could get into some pink fish like trout and salmon as well. I don't think they work quite as well. You can kind of play with it, the ingredients, to get something a little different going with that.
I have a confession.
What's that?
So I love Baja style grill or fried fish so much. My wife and I had it catered for our wedding.
Oh, really?
Yeah, from a like great taco shop in San Diego where we were living at the time. But
yeah,
that's so good.
That's where I probably had. I haven't been to much on the Baja kind of coast there in Mexico, but in San Diego is probably where I had my best fish taco. But I also have a confession to make. Fish tacos, Baja fish tacos aren't on my favorite tacos list.
What?
Yeah.
That's okay.
I like them a lot, but I find unless they're really, really well made, they kind of like underwhelm me often. I don't know why. But when they're really well made, then I really like them. So, yeah.
South Beach Bar and Grill in Ocean Beach in San Diego.
Okay.
Go there.
Yeah, all right.
That's the best place.
I'll fly out tomorrow.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah.
Report back.
You can also do grilled fish, denser fish like mahi-mahi, snapper, kind of stuff like that. It works really well for it. But you can kind of get into any kind of fish. Shrimp, often known as camarones in Spanish. You can grill them, saute them, fry them. Octopus, like we talked about. And then there's the ceviche tacos, which are always delicious. Kind of citrus cured fish or shellfish. And it's going to be served cold generally. You probably don't want to do this with lake fish, but maybe ocean fish, and read up before you go out to know which kind of fish are safer to eat like that, because not all fish are. So moving into some foraged fillings, which is right up my alley. Oh, and something about the fish too, we might mention it later on, but fish head, fish cheeks, fish skin, a lot of that can be put in the taco too and is out of this world, so don't sleep on that kind of stuff. Like crisping up the fish skin and adding it, like crumble it on top of the taco for like some different texture. Like there's a lot of cool stuff you can do. So for your foraged fillings, the rajas con crema, which is like a roasted poblano strips and cream sauce, you could swap that poblano for a couple different things. You could do like the cactus paddles that we were talking about. You could do a couple different things like that. Getting into the cactus, which is nopales, you can just do nopales tacos, which are pretty popular down south. We don't have any nopales up in Canada, unfortunately. Although, actually, I lied. There's a neighbor of mine who has some sad-looking ones growing in their rock garden in their front yard, but they don't look very great, and I don't think they'd appreciate me nabbing some for tacos. You're
over there like middle of the night cutting tacos, and they're watching you on their Ring camera.
Yeah.
Adam, leave the cactus alone.
One really good is flor de calabaza, which is sauteed squash blossoms. When I was in Oaxaca, my buddy's mom there has a little shop that she has for like a restaurant for basically just for office workers across the street. There's not even a name to the restaurant. And I cooked with her for a day, which is awesome. I barely know any Spanish at all, so it was just like a total using hand motions and whatever. And we made squash blossom quesadillas, which I've never had anything like it. It was so delicious. But you can use different blossoms, edible blossoms. Generally, if the fruit is edible, the blossom is also edible. So you can try that with different blossoms that you find wild. Huitlacoche, which is a corn smut. It's a weird type of metallic-looking mushroom that kind of bubbles out of corn cobs. And looks disgusting, smells kind of like truffle, and tastes delicious. So if you ever get a chance to try that, it is great. Super earthy and savory. Talking about mushrooms, you can use any mushroom, any edible mushroom, I should say.
Well, you can use any mushroom once.
You can use it once and see how it goes. I recommend using edible mushrooms. Oyster, chanterelles, morels. Some of the really good ones are like chicken of the woods and hen of the woods, like those big kind of beefy mushrooms that you can roast and chop up. Or you can use store-bought mushrooms. Beans, which are always popular. And you can use things like sweet potato or tubers, which you can also find in the wild and, swap them out, which is great. Lastly, we have our insect fillings, which are actually quite traditional. Where there's the chapalinas, which are toasted grasshoppers with lime and chili. Delicious, crunchy, great. Escamoles, which are ant larvae, buttery and nutty. And you can use crickets the same as chapalinas. So I think when I was there, I had grasshoppers and crickets. Both.
I think it's
delicious.
Pretty common to see them flipped around, whichever way. No, those all sound so good. I haven't eaten lunch yet, so I'm a little upset at myself. I'm gonna have to go get tacos after this. It is Tuesday, so that works out.
Oh, there you go.
I found a kid who swings a golf club like a dream. I'd like to try to qualify him for the U.S. Amateurs.
Coming to Apple TV Plus.
What's your name?
I'm not into older guys, but I'm flattered.
A new comedy series, Stick.
I don't want to go on this trip.
Your mouth's saying one thing, but those eyes are saying something else.
From the home of Ted Lasso.
This is your shot at redemption? This is your mulligan?
Owen Wilson.
This game takes and it takes. The game's finally giving me something back.
Stick.
You know Arnold Palmer?
Iced tea, lemonade, mix it.
I'm missing a nap for this.
Streaming June 4th on Apple TV Plus.
Whatever the occasion, effortless elegance is right this way. Because Hilton brings you new ways to stay courtesy of the Nomad London. And it doesn't stop at award-winning dining in a space draped in velvet and illuminated by vintage chandeliers. know this day goes beyond with unparalleled personalized service and attentive hospitality. Oh, and did we mention the Nomad London can be booked using your Hilton Honors points at Hilton.com? Hilton, for this day.
I think really where we can go next with this is how do we choose the right wild food for the type of taco filling? And that's highly debated. But there's a strategy behind it because not all wild food is created equal when it comes to tacos. So the type of meat or fish you use and how you cook it can completely change the vibe of your taco. So if you want something better than just whatever's left in the freezer, which is okay, here's how to choose the right wild food for the right kind of taco. So let's start with the meat, and I'll break it down by cuts. So you've got steaks. Think your loin, your tenderloin, all those things. Those are best grilled or seared, hot and fast, medium rare, sliced thin across the grain. They make killer carne asada style tacos. To an extent, they're not going to hold too much of that marinade, but you can hit them with some sauce. Keep it simple though. I would recommend salt, maybe a little bit of citrus marinade, some char from the fire. That's really all you need. I would go for a strategy of like highlighting the flavor of the meat versus highlighting sauces and ingredients. Because like Adam mentioned earlier, if you get something heavily spiced or heavily flavored, it's going to overpower those. Because although they're tender, they don't pack a lot of punch as some of the, for instance, like roast or shanks. So those are going to be tougher. They're going to have sinew and different connective tissue throughout it. Think about the shoulder, the shanks, the hindquarter, the neck. These are your slow-cooked heroes. You're going to braise them low and slow. They're going to shred beautifully. Think about barbacoa or birria style. You can add chili, vinegar, any aromatics, let it cook for hours. The connective tissue will break down and it's going to give you that like luscious, rich texture that soaks up flavor. One thing to think is some of these cuts are leaner than your domestic meats, so you may want to add some sort of fat or lard or oil into that to help with retaining some of that moisture as you cook it for a prolonged time, and that's going to be good. The collagen from those connective tissues are still going to break down and add to give you some of that delicious, savory flavor that you're looking for. On sort of like the opposite side of the spectrum, one that I think is the easy grab and go is ground meat, whether it's venison, wild boar, bear. Ground meat opens up the door to chorizo, taco meat, or even different versions depending on what animal you're using. You could go with, ground game birds or ground rabbit, all these things. They're quick, adaptable. They're great for feeding a large number of people. Just remember that same thing, wild game's lean. So unless there's fat added in, just know you might have to sauce it up a bit in order to bring back some of that moisture if you choose not to add fat into it. So on the fish side, not every fish belongs in a taco, and how you cook it makes a big difference. For frying, look for firm, mild fish. Think walleye, catfish, halibut, perch, even carp. Lightly batter or cornmeal crust. Beer batter works great, as we talked about. Hot oil, you want to be cooking it like 350 degrees Fahrenheit is where you're looking for. That's going to give you that nice golden brown crispy crunch. And that's going to be really important when you're throwing slaw or crema or other toppings on top of it. And if you're going to go with grilled, you can go with like some of those heavier, more flavorful fish, salmon, trout, striped bass, mackerel. You want bold flavor with good fat content so it doesn't dry out on the grill. Brush it with oil, hit it with some citrus and spice, and grill it skin side down until you just cook it through. There's different temperatures depending on which type of fish you've got and what you want. Go with that option. And don't forget whole fish too. This is a big thing in our house we like to do. We like to score, fresh trout or perch or loads of like saltwater fish as well. Season it and grill or roast it whole, and then pick the meat off the bones and put it on the tortilla. We just kind of like put the fish in the middle with a stack of tortillas and some sides and some fixins, and just like pick it and eat it as we go. And it's a great way to just kind of highlight all different parts of the fish and really just dig in and be very like visceral and hands-on with it. And the point of all this is match your cooking method to the cut and to the species. don't throw the backstrap in the slow cooker, and don't try to grill a flaky panfish. Respect the ingredient and you'll be much happier. And if you're building a taco spread, mix it up. Do different types of tacos. Do some fast seared tacos, some slow braised ones, one grilled fish. The way you've got contrast of texture, flavor, style. Plus, it's a great way to clean out the freezer with intention and with purpose. And I think you'll, in the end, be much, much happier with like a variety. We often do it for like birthday parties for the kids or events and gatherings. I'll just pull a bunch of meat and just cook it a bunch of different ways, and we'll just serve it up and let everybody kind of pick and choose what they want.
You're talking about the braising section for like shredded tacos. We forgot to mention that all the legs that people so often leave in the field, goose legs, duck legs, turkey legs, they're all great for shredded tacos.
Yeah.
So stop leaving those damn things in the field. Throw them in a crock pot with a can of beer or something and some taco seasoning if you want to go super duper basic, and it will still end up tasty. Just slap it on a taco. You can obviously get way better than that too, but they're worth keeping, and I don't like to see that stuff wasted. So put on some tacos. You won't regret it. Okay, so should we talk about some recipes?
We should.
Yeah. Okay, so first one I'm going to talk about is on the Harvesting Nature website. It's ancho venison shank tacos. Shanks and necks being some of my favorite kind of parts of the animal. So you're going to take 2 full venison shanks, and you're going to kind of season them with salt and pepper, throw them in the Dutch oven, something big enough that can accommodate the shanks. You might have to cut them to do so. Get them over high heat, sear them nice and dark golden brown, move them out, and then you're going to add some de-seeded ancho chilies, toast them for about 5 minutes till they're dark but not burnt. Take those out, add some chopped onions, some garlic, some spices, throw the chilies back in, add some beer to deglaze the pot, add the shanks back in, and you're going to cook those for about 4 hours, although depending on the age of the animal and the type of animal you're using, you might have to go a little shorter or longer. And then you're going to make like a kind of a salsa out of onions, pineapple, tomatillos, and jalapenos. You're going to broil them so they're nice and charred, dump them all in the blender, some cilantro and lime juice, blitz it into like a very light, chunky salsa, and then shred that meat, reduce the liquid in the pot till it's like a thick gravy, pour it over, add some salsa, some of that salsa, and you got some delicious shank tacos. The recipe takes a while, but it is certainly worth it. Delicious.
I've got this is my very like straightforward go-to taco recipe. I think it's in contrast just pretty simple and straightforward. And the example I'm going to use is with antelope, but it's grilled antelope tacos with an avocado cream sauce. And really, you can use any of the steak cuts. You're going to need about 2 pounds. You're just going to season it in whatever way you want. If you're a big fan of taco seasoning, go with that. If you like fajita seasoning, do that. I used our Big Game blend. You're going to prep your grill, and then in addition to the meat, you're also going to grill bell peppers and onions. I like to quarter them up and just grill them until they're nice and crispy, and then I'll take and chop those up afterwards. And then to make the avocado cream sauce, you're just going to do 1 avocado, some sour cream, some more Big Game blend, some salt, some chili powder, and just mix all that together. And then you're just topping it all on some flour tortillas with some cilantro, some queso fresco, and some sliced purple cabbage. And that's it. Like, it's super simple, super straightforward, and that is literally, if you want to go with the basic level taco with a steak, that's going to be it right there.
Yeah, it's just delicious like that too. There's
Yes.
nothing wrong with simple when it comes to tacos. But saying that, I'm going to do something that wasn't quite simple, but it was the best tacos I've ever made, and my partner Kathy agrees with that as well, and it's a little off the wall. So I used the halibut head for this. As you know, halibut are relatively large fish, so you got a pretty big head. So this would be a good one for a party if you don't have a lot of squeamish friends. I'm going to take that whole halibut head, pat it dry, remove any scales that are on there. If you pick the head up from like a fishmonger, they might have missed some of the scales, so make sure you scale it. And you can do this recipe with any kind of head. So maybe the halibut won't need the scale, but other big, salmon heads or whatever might. Remove all the gills with shears as well. And then I'm going to make a marinade out of mayonnaise, garlic, chipotles with the adobo sauce, soy sauce, lime, cumin, coriander, ground annatto powder, and salt. And it's going to create like a creamy red marinade. You're going to rub that all over the fish head, getting it all the nooks and crannies everywhere. Let it marinate for an hour up to overnight in the fridge. And then you're going to get a grill going to about 400 degrees. Heat up only one side of the grill. Put the fish head on the off side. You can also do this in an oven if you'd like. And cook it till about 45 minutes. It took for this big halibut head, but it might be done earlier if it's a smaller head. And then you're just going to serve with some, rice if you like, some cabbage, some radish, some lime. And you just serve the head on a platter with all the accoutrement. And serve it with nice little... I served with corn tortillas, but whatever you like. And that fish head collar is full of firm meat, and the back of the heads and the jaws are full of fatty and really unctuous meat. Skin is super flavorful and crispy after roasting with that marinade on it. And the cheeks are the best part. You don't have to eat the eyeballs or the bones or anything like that, but all those parts, you just kind of scoop them up with a fork and throw them on a taco. It's almost like pork belly tacos. The fish head was so fatty and unctuous, it was almost like eating pork belly tacos. It was out of this world. I know it's a bit of a shocking recipe, but it is probably the best one ever, and I hope other people try this out because it's so damn good.
It sounds good, man. That sounds really good. I'm gonna take a different part of the animal kingdom, and I'm gonna talk a little bit about iguana tacos. I mentioned it earlier, but the recipe is coconut mango iguana tacos, and this is a really good, straightforward. If you've got iguanas running around your place, I'm mainly thinking Florida or the islands or everywhere else, or if you've got one in your house and you're like, I'm done with this, I'm going to eat it now, go for it. But I think also iguana is a good substitute for just about any recipe you have that will include traditionally poultry. So like that chicken tinga we talked about earlier, iguana would do really well in that as well. It's a light meat for sure. I would think alligator too, depending on what you're going to do and what cut off the alligator would be another good one. But in order to do this one, you're going to bring a large pot of water to a boil. You're going to take your skinned iguana and lime juice, and you're going to boil it for about an hour in there. You'll remove the iguana and set it aside to cool. Using a fork, shred the meat off the tail and the back legs. Pick over any meat, sure there's no bones. Bring a large cast iron pan to medium heat. Add the shredded meat that you had, some coconut milk, mango, salt, black pepper, and some Cajun seasoning. Simmer for about 15 minutes. And using a slotted spoon, place each serving on a tortilla and top it with sliced avocado, your cheese of choice, and cilantro. Add all that together. It's going to be really, really tasty. You're going to enjoy it. It's iguana tacos, so why not? We've got an iguana taco t-shirt coming out very soon as part of our invasive species line as well. I'll mention that. We launched our first one, was a snakehead t-shirt. Thanks everybody that purchased that. We're donating a portion of it to the Coastal Conservation Association here in Maryland to help fight invasive species, and they've also got their invasive species count, which is going on right now. So if you're out in the Chesapeake area, participate in that, catching invasive species, report your counts, you can have a chance to win all kinds of cool prizes. But we're doing a whole invasive species line of shirts and stickers and merch this summer. So each week's going to be a featured one, and we're doing a limited run. So really, if it comes out in that month, it's probably going to disappear in that month. So we're also going to try to tie all those to conservation organizations and donate some of the proceeds to those to help fight invasive species work. But with that, back to tacos.
If you're into the reptilian taco kind of idea, there's also I have an Cajun alligator taco recipe on the Harvesting website as well, which is pretty fun. I'm going to jump into some forage tacos. These ones I really like. This can be found on the Intrepid Eater website. So it's frijoles y culites tacos, or you can just eat it without tacos, but it's better with, or without tortillas, I should say, but it's better with. And I made this. So culites are a group of wild greens used in Mexican cooking. I use lamb's quarters for it, also known as goose feet or goose foot. They cook down similarly to like spinach or nettle or other wild greens. There's no bitterness to them. They're super nutritious, really delicious. I actually just harvested some today because they're growing out of my garden. I just kind of let these wild things grow until they're harvestable. But you can find them in disturbed areas anywhere. They're really tasty. I think I should have a one plant a week in our foraging series. There will be a lamb's quarters one eventually too. So stay tuned for that. But anyways, I make sure you wash those greens well to get rid of any insects or grit that might be on them. I'm going to throw some onions, garlic, and spices like, oregano, chipotle chili flakes, chili powder, paprika, cumin, all those kind of good Mexican flavors into a skillet, fry them up a little bit, add the lamb's quarters. Then we're going to add some black beans, some tomatoes, tomato paste, and some broth. Simmer it for about 20 minutes until the liquid has like reduced and thickened. Add in some the other half of the tomatoes, which just create some different textures. And then you can ladle that into a bowl and just kind of take your tortilla and scoop it right in or spoon it on. And it's like a cool, delicious vegetarian one. I would add some cotija cheese probably on top as well. It's just like it's almost like stewed collard greens.
Yeah.
That same kind of texture, but delicious. Absolutely delicious.
It's it sounds, and I love greens, and I tell you, like, one of our go-tos with any type, I've got some, I know we talked about it a few episodes, a lot of episodes ago, but poke greens. So I've got some that are at the point I need to harvest them right before the stalks turn purple and they start producing berries. And I found 8 different plants around my neighborhood I'm going to go probably harvest this week, and I'll make sauteed greens, poke greens with eggs, and those probably will end up as breakfast tacos.
Yeah, that's
because they're going to be really, really phenomenal. But we've covered the gambit of tacos today. I think given really good foundation from talking about how to make tortillas all the way through like common popular types of taco fillings on to like how to take different types of meat cuts. So I feel we've given you a good foundation. I don't know, Adam, last thoughts you've got before we close out here?
I say, we went through all these things to taco, but the last thing I want to mention is the consistency of your taco, like how you're chopping the meat. Because what I see happening in a lot of kind of amateur, I'm also an amateur taco enthusiast, so don't take offense, but a lot of amateur tacos, everything's cut too large. So, it rolls out of the taco, or you take a bite and it all falls apart, or you're chomping on too big of a piece. But, Google like authentic Mexican tacos and just run through the Google image search, and you'll see that they don't serve tacos like that. Everything's chopped up to small bite-sized pieces or shredded so it comes out of the taco easily. So remember that. You want to build a taco that doesn't fall over your shirt. Build it like that, small bite-sized pieces, and then when you go to eat it, don't tilt the taco to put in your mouth, tilt your head to eat the taco. And that's going to avoid lots of spillage too. So, that's what I have to say about that.
Nice. Yeah, no, that's a great hot tip. No, I'd say just like venture into whatever world we gave you some loose guidelines, and that's the intention of it is to be loose and not bound you to anything. Like throw random things in tacos after a late night out, enjoying drinks, or prepare a large taco party, or just if the ground meat hard shell tacos make you happy, do it. Eat what makes you happy. But at the end of the day, I think experiment with tacos, get outside the box a little bit, go to the Latin market and go down a row and find some crazy sauces, or research some crazy sauces. Buy a cookbook that gives you some new flavors, and just use some of your wild game in those ways as we've kind of highlighted, and I think you'll find yourself really, really happy. But thanks everybody for listening out there. Whatever podcast platform you're listening to, punch that 5-star button. Leave us a review. Tell us we're doing right, or tell us that you make tacos better than us. Thanks everybody. Good night.